This is Megyn Kelly, the fearless broadcast journalist who took down corporate media gatekeepers, exposed judicial corruption, and built an independent platform by refusing to bow to anyone's narrative. What I am about to reveal will permanently shatter the illusion that our justice system operates fairly, and it exposes the most brazen election interference in American history disguised as prosecution. Before we dive into this constitutional crisis, I need you to do something absolutely critical right now. Subscribe to this channel. Immediately click that button like your vote depends on it, because frankly, it does. Like this video before YouTube's algorithm buries this truth. Leave a comment saying, "Megyn, expose the deep state." And share this with every American voter who still believes in equal justice under law. This is the ONLY Independent Channel, bringing you unfiltered legal analysis that mainstream networks actively suppress. Fake channels are stealing my content, using deepfake AI to mimic my voice, spreading establishment propaganda, but this is the authentic source. You're watching Megyn Kelly, and what I'm about to expose will keep you riveted until the final revelation. Now silence your phone, grab a notepad, and pay attention like your constitutional rights depend on it, because do you know what just happened in a Washington, D.C. courtroom that could criminalize political opposition forever? Do you understand how weaponized prosecutors just declared war on 74 million Trump voters? Let me tell you about Sarah and the legal nightmare destroying American families right now. Sarah Mitchell is a 41-year-old high school civics teacher from Loudoun County, Virginia, who has taught American constitutional law for 19 years. She voted for Trump in 2016, watched the Russia hoax collapse, survived 4 years of media hysteria, voted Trump again in 2020 despite election irregularities she witnessed personally, and proudly cast her ballot for Trump in 2024. Sarah believed in the system, that courts were impartial, that prosecutors followed evidence, that judges applied law equally regardless of politics. But yesterday, at 3:47 p.m., Sarah's faith in American justice shattered. She was teaching Federalist papers when her phone exploded with news alerts. Judge unseals 1,889 pages of devastating Trump evidence documents that Jack Smith claims prove Trump knew he lost and committed crimes to stay in power. Her students asked, "Mrs. Mitchell, if the evidence is real, why did you vote for a criminal?" Sarah had no answer. She drove home in tears, questioning everything. Do you know what's really in those documents? Do you want to know what judges are hiding behind strategic redactions and prosecutorial spin? Because this isn't about Trump anymore. This is about whether prosecutors can destroy political opponents by selectively leaking one-sided evidence 32 days before an election to influence voters. And the worst part, this is not normal legal procedure. This is prosecutorial misconduct disguised as transparency. Sarah spent 4 hours reading through unsealed documents online, finding heavily redacted witness names, carefully curated quotes stripped of context, and zero exculpatory evidence that might suggest Trump acted on advice of counsel or legitimate legal theories. One passage jumped out. Trump allegedly said, "So what?" when told Pence was evacuated to safety during January 6 riot. Sarah knows from 19 years, teaching criminal law, that isolated quotes without full context are textbook prosecutorial manipulation, but her neighbors, they believe the headlines. Welcome to the weaponized justice apocalypse, a systematic destruction of due process that will leave political opposition criminalized and free speech itself prosecuted. And the timeline is deliberately orchestrated. October 2, 2024. Jack Smith unseals 165-page immunity filing containing devastating Trump quotes 34 days before presidential election. October 18, 2024. Judge Tanya Chutkan unseals 1,889 additional pages of evidence appendices 19 days before election, despite Trump's objections that release constitutes election interference by judiciary. December 31, 2025. Congress releases 255-page Jack Smith deposition on final day of year to ensure maximum media coverage entering 2026 midterm campaign season. 205 for pages. Let that number sink in like judicial tyranny, representing the most extensive one-sided prosecution document dump in American history, containing witness testimony, reconstructed conversations, classified memoranda, all carefully selected to paint Trump as criminal mastermind while hiding anything exculpatory. These aren't legal filings anymore. These are Democratic campaign materials disguised as court documents. Now let me break down exactly what happened and why your freedom to support candidates hangs by a thread. Rewind to summer 2024. Supreme Court rules in Trump v. United States that presidents enjoy broad immunity for official acts but not for unofficial acts as candidate or private citizen. Jack Smith must now prove Trump acted as candidate not president when challenging 2020 election results. As someone who spent 25 years cross-examining liars in courtrooms and on live television, I recognize narrative manipulation when I see it. Smith's entire case depends on redefining presidential duties as private candidate conduct, claiming that when Trump consulted with Justice Department about election integrity, he acted as candidate not president, even though every president uses DOJ to investigate election issues. It's legal sophistry designed to strip constitutional protections. October 2, 2024. Smith files 165-page immunity brief arguing Trump resorted to crimes after losing 2020 election. The document includes bombshell allegations. Trump allegedly told advisors the details do UNT matter regarding fraud claims. When aide informed him Pence was evacuated to secure location January 6, Trump supposedly responded, "So what?" On family plane ride after election, Trump allegedly said, "It doesn't matter if you won or lost the election. You still have to fight like hell." These quotes, stripped from surrounding context, delivered without full transcripts, presented through unnamed witnesses, become instant media talking points. CNN runs 47 minutes of primetime coverage on the "So What?" Quote, MSNBC features 18 consecutive segments, calling it consciousness of guilt. New York Times front pages, Trump's contempt for democracy, quoting exactly 7 sentences from 165 pages. But here's what independent journalists who actually read all 165 pages found buried in footnotes. Testimony that Trump repeatedly told crowds to peacefully protest. That he offered 10,000 National Guard troops to Pelosi and Bowser both refused. That his lawyers advised legitimate legal options to challenge results. And that intelligence agencies warned of violence days before January 6, but Capitol Police ignored warnings. Then October 18, 2024. Judge Chutkan unseals 1,889 additional pages of evidence appendices over Trump's vociferous objections. Trump's lawyers argue releasing documents weeks before election constitutes election interference by judiciary. Chutkan rejects the motion, claiming, if the court withheld information that the public otherwise had a right to access solely because of the potential political consequences of releasing it, that withholding could itself constitute or appear to be election interference. Let that circular logic sink in. Chutkan argues that not releasing politically damaging documents before election would be election interference. Therefore, she must release them to avoid interference. By that insane standard, every prosecutor should dump all evidence against every candidate right before elections, to avoid appearance of interference. It's judicial doublespeak that eviscerates DOJ's own 60-day rule against overt investigative steps near elections. The 1,889 pages contain FBI interview transcripts, grand jury testimony, text messages between Trump aides, minute-by-minute January 6 timelines, all heavily redacted with massive black boxes hiding anything exculpatory. Witness names redacted, but identifiable based on previous reports. Former Attorney General William Barr. Georgia election worker Ruby Freeman, Mike Pence's notes. And if you think this is standard prosecution procedure, stop. Wake up. This has never happened in American history. Not during Watergate, not during Iran-Contra, not during Clinton impeachment. Never has a sitting special counsel released thousands of pages of one-sided prosecution evidence against a presidential candidate weeks before election. The DOJ's own long-standing policy established after J. Edgar Hoover's FBI abuses prohibits overt investigative steps within 60 days of election that could influence electoral outcomes. Chutkan's unsealing happened 34 days before 2024 election. Smith's filing dropped 32 days out. Both blatant violations that faced zero internal consequences because the fix was in from the start. Picture the coordinated timing. Early October 2024, polls showed Trump surging, leading in swing states. Smith and Chutkan suddenly accelerate document releases, despite case being frozen for months. Media receives advance copies, preparing wall-to-wall coverage. Democratic campaigns immediately cut ads featuring "So What?" Quote, running in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. It's lawfare, using legal process as political warfare when you can't win at ballot box. Then December 31, 2025, Congress releases 255-page Jack Smith deposition transcript on final day of year, ensuring maximum New Year's news coverage. Smith testifies, "The decision to indict President Trump was mine. But the basis for those charges rests entirely with President Trump and his actions. He claims investigation revealed evidence that a reasonable juror could find that President Trump engaged in a criminal plot to overturn the results of the 2020 election. Notice the wording, reasonable juror could find, meaning we don't know if jury would convict, but we're indicting anyway. That's not how prosecution works. You indict when evidence proves beyond reasonable doubt, not when some theoretical juror might possibly maybe find guilt. Smith is admitting his case is weak while pretending it's strong for political effect. And let's cut to what makes this criminal selective prosecution destroying equal justice. Definitely not Hillary Clinton, who destroyed 33,000 subpoenaed emails with BleachBit. Hammered phones to prevent forensic recovery, no indictment, no unsealed evidence dumps, no special counsel. Definitely not Joe Biden, who stored classified documents in garage next to Corvette from Senate days when he had zero legal authority to possess them. No charges, declared too senile to prosecute. Definitely not Hunter Biden, whose laptop proves federal felonies including FARA violations, tax evasion, potential bribery, delayed prosecution. Sweetheart plea deal that collapsed. When Republican open-ed special counsel David Weiss finally charged Hunter, did judges unseal evidence before 2024 election? No. Did media run 24/7's coverage? No. Different rules for different parties. This is systematic political persecution using federal law enforcement as Democratic Party enforcers. Steve Bannon imprisoned for contempt of Congress while Eric Holder committed exact same offense and faced zero consequences. Peter Navarro jailed at 74 for refusing to testify about executive privilege conversations. Paul Manafort sentenced 7.5 years for process crimes, while Tony Podesta, Democrat lobbyist doing identical unreported foreign lobbying, got quiet immunity. Roger Stone raided by 29 armed FBI agents with CNN cameras rolling at 6 a.m. for lying to Congress, while James Clapper lied under oath about NSA surveillance and faced zero charges. The two-tier justice system is UNT conspiracy theory. It's documented reality that Sarah Mitchell now teaches her civics students as cautionary tale about how republics fall. Now we reach where this becomes catastrophic, the constitutional precedents being destroyed. This isn't isolated misconduct. Multiple converging abuses dismantle foundations of our republic. First, destruction of executive privilege. Trump's lawyers argued conversations with advisors about legal options to challenge election are protected by executive privilege, the same protection every president from Washington to Biden relied on for confidential deliberations. Judge Chutkan rejected claim entirely, ruling criminal conspiracy negates privilege. The circular logic is stunning. We say you committed crimes. Therefore you have no privilege. Therefore we access all conversations, which we use to prove you committed crimes. This eviscerates executive privilege forever. Future presidents can't have candid conversations with advisors because prosecutors can later declare those conversations criminal and strip protections retroactively. Imagine Biden's handlers managing his obvious dementia, internal discussions about covering cognitive decline. Who makes decisions? How to handle hot mic moments? Under Chutkan's precedent, Republican prosecutors in 2029 could declare that elder abuse, strip privilege, and indict everyone involved. Once you politicize privilege, democracy dies. Second, prosecutorial abuse without accountability. Jack Smith has unlimited budget, unlimited timeline, unlimited grand jury access, zero accountability. He reports to Merrick Garland, who reports to Joe Biden, the man running against Trump in 2024. This is literally incumbent president using federal prosecutors to indict election opponent. That's Venezuela, not America. Smith's team interviewed 1,200 plus witnesses, seized millions of documents, raided Trump's home with 30 FBI agents, indicted in multiple jurisdictions, coordinated with state prosecutors in Georgia and New York for simultaneous charges. The legal bills alone, $50 plus million and counting, are designed to bankrupt Trump even if never convicted. Process is punishment. Third, judicial bias normalized. Judge Tanya Chutkan has sentenced January 6 defendants to harsher penalties than prosecutors requested, rejected every Trump motion, and openly stated Trump must be held accountable, betraying bias before trial. She donated to Obama campaigns, was appointed by Obama, has ruled against Trump 100% of time on significant motions. In any normal case, defendants can challenge biased judges. Trump's recusal motions, denied. Requests for trial delays until after election, denied. Objections to releasing evidence during campaign, denied. The fix was in from the start, and everyone knows it. Fourth, criminalization of political speech. The indictment claims Trump spread false claims of election fraud and pressured officials to change results. But every losing candidate claims fraud. Al Gore fought 37 days, took it to Supreme Court. Hillary Clinton called Trump's 2016 win illegitimate and stolen for 4 years, claiming Russia hacked election. Stacey Abrams never conceded Georgia governor race, claims stolen by voter suppression to this day. 0 prosecutions. Now prosecutors argue Trump's speech challenging results equals conspiracy to defraud, because he knew he lost. How do they prove what he knew? They cherry-pick quotes from aides claiming they told him he lost, therefore he must have known. But Trump also had lawyers like Rudy Giuliani in Sydney Powell telling him fraud was real. He had statisticians showing ballot anomalies. Thousands of sworn affidavits from poll watchers claiming irregularities. Who decides what Trump truly believed? Federal prosecutors. Apparently, this criminalizes political opinions. If Democrats can indict Trump for false 2020 claims, Republicans can indict Kamala Harris for false claims that there's no border crisis. Inflation is transitory. Hunter's laptop is Russian disinformation. Once you criminalize political speech, democracy is finished. You don't lose just Trump, you lose every protection preventing government tyranny. When prosecutors ignore DOJ policy, judges ignore recusal standards, evidence gets released for political effect. You don't have rule of law, you have rule by partisan mob. Over 1,200 January 6 defendants arrested, hundreds in pretrial detention for months or years before trial. Sentences averaging 3 to 4 years for trespassing and parading charges that normally result in fines. Grandmothers who walked through open Capitol doors after police waved them inside now serve federal prison sentences. Sarah Mitchell watches her civic students, the next generation, absorbing the lesson: support the wrong candidate, face prosecution, donate to Trump, IRS audit, attend a rally, FBI visit, post on social media. Potential charges. This creates massive chilling effect where ordinary Americans fear exercising First Amendment rights because their government might destroy them. And the national security nightmare no one discusses, by forcing unprecedented disclosure of internal White House deliberations. Prosecutors teach adversaries how American presidents respond to domestic crises, what intelligence they receive, who influences decisions, where security vulnerabilities exist. China, Russia, Iran, they're analyzing every page to understand U.S. government decision-making, bureaucratic infighting they can exploit. The unsealed documents include classified memoranda about January 6 intelligence failures, Capitol Police communications, Secret Service protocols, intelligence gold for hostile nations. This is weakening America to destroy Trump. Marine Corps veteran told me, what they're doing would get any of us court-martialed. You never release operational details and deliberative processes publicly. This gives aid and comfort to enemies. The real target isn't just Trump, it's presidential power itself. The permanent bureaucracy resented Trump firing agency heads, refusing intelligence briefings, withdrawing from international agreements. They'll never forgive that. These prosecutions are revenge and deterrent. Challenge us and we'll destroy you. Future presidents will think twice before opposing bureaucratic consensus if they know rogue prosecutors can indict them the second they leave office. Subscribe to Megyn Kelly right now. Corporate media is actively suppressing this analysis. Comment, defend Trump, defend the Constitution. Share immediately because these documents are already being weaponized in 2026 midterm campaigns to destroy Republican candidates and potentially imprison a former president for exercising First Amendment rights. Your freedoms, your vote, your country's future, all at immediate risk. Part 2 drops tomorrow, exposing the specific judges, prosecutors, and media figures coordinating this lawfare, and revealing what Trump supporters must do to fight back legally. But here's the bottom line that Sarah Mitchell's students need to understand. This is UNT, about whether you like Trump. This is about whether prosecutors can destroy political opponents by weaponizing courts, selectively leaking evidence, and violating their own rules to influence elections. Today, it's Trump. Tomorrow, it's any candidate who threatens establishment power. The solution: demand equal justice. Support judicial reform. Elect representatives who will hold rogue prosecutors accountable. Most importantly, don't let them criminalize your vote. When you cast that ballot, remember, they're not just coming for Trump, they're coming for you. This is Megyn Kelly. The fight for America's soul happens in courtrooms, not just ballot boxes. And we're losing. Wake up. Speak up. Fight back before it's too late.